I love you.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic and Everything Chicago Sports Related podcast. It's currently January 3rd, the night of January 3rd. Found out the NFL 2024 Pro Bowl rosters today. A lot of fun. We're going to be getting into that. Let me just rearrange this really quickly before we start the show. Got a little technical difficulty, but that's okay. But with that being said, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot of things we're going to be getting into. It's going to be interesting to see what the alternates look like. Obviously, once the Super Bowl occurs, some guys are going to opt out. Some guys don't want to be there. Let's say, sake of argument, somehow, some way, the Eagles make the Super Bowl. Jason Kelce will not be playing center in the Pro Bowl. There's just no purpose for it. And then some other guys just don't want to be a part of the Pro Bowl. It's not, what it used to be or the idea of what it used to be. But yeah, man, we got some news. We got two Bears in the cut for the Pro Bowl this year. I'd like to congratulate and thank for them for being a part of this organization. Jaylon Johnson and Montez Sweat lead the Chicago Bears, representing them in the Pro Bowl this year, representing the NFC North and the NFC as a whole. It's really cool to see Jaylon Johnson get his first Pro Bowl. It was well-deserved. That's something that I feel like has been in conversation for quite some time to when he was going to take that next step. We always talked about him as a lockdown corner. And when I say a lockdown corner, maybe the interceptions aren't there, maybe the pick sixes aren't there, but he is on his receiver like glue. There's no question about it. He always has been. He's always been that kind of guy. Now that you have the interceptions on top of that to really just solidify who you are, because I'm going to be honest, as a former DB, you have that conversation with yourself all the time of, I need to get picks. I need to get turnovers. You need to get the ball. But at the end of the day, as long as you're doing your job as a corner, it's perfectly fine to not have interceptions. You know what I mean? I'd rather a quarterback be afraid to throw the ball in your vicinity than him try you every single play. So if you're not getting the ball thrown towards you, that's perfectly okay. It's not a bad thing. But it's really cool. It's really cool to see that happen. And shout out to Montez Sweat, who not only led the Chicago Bears in sacks this year with 6, but led the Washington Commanders with 6.5. He had a total of 12.5 sacks on the year. You'll love to see that for him. Shout out to Ryan Poles, by the way, for getting a second-round pick return that is actually worth it. Last year, obviously, he debunked that one with Chase Claypool, and that didn't work out. But to not only get Montez Sweat, but the impact of what he's had on this defense, obviously getting the extension done as well. It's great to see what he's been able to do in a Chicago Bears uniform thus far. But to keep on that conversation of extensions, we need to continue these extension talks with Jaylon Johnson. I saw Ryan Poles and him shaking up, congratulating each other and just praising each other and how much they love each other. Obviously, today during the announcement, and it's cool. It's all love at the end of the day. I'm happy they still have a decent relationship and they can still have those kind of conversations with each other, but you need to see an extension happen. You know what I mean? Before we figure out Caleb Williams, before we figure out Justin Fields and the number 1 pick and that whole debacle, you have to wrap up Jaylon Johnson. You have to lock him up for the next several years. It's really just what it comes down to. You know what I mean? Like, he is the cornerstone of this secondary. He is the face of this secondary. And, I love guys like Tyreek Stevenson, who's been absolutely phenomenal. If you want to talk about defensive rookies of the year, Tyreek Stevenson's in that conversation. Now, is he better than, other guys as well that we can break down and talk about? Maybe not better than the star pass rushers and defensive tackles that we've seen come out of this draft. But Tyreek Stevenson was without a doubt the best corner that came out of this draft. But with that, is Kyler Gordon ready? Is Tyreek ready to be corner 1? You know what I mean? Like, we need Johnson here. We need the experience. We need what he brings from a leadership perspective. There's a lot that goes into that. So I do want to say, again, shout out to the boys. Shout out Montez Sweat. Shout out Jaylon Johnson. And I will say this, because I don't think it's too late yet. We're going to get into it about who could potentially miss the Pro Bowl because of the Super Bowl or just because of not wanting to play due to injury or any other issues. But I still believe in my heart of hearts there are two guys right now, potentially three, who could crack that roster. And I'm looking at guys like Tevin Jenkins, if healthy, DJ Moore, and honestly, to be honest with you, I saw Jaquan Brisker talking on Instagram and Twitter about how he felt snubbed by Buda Baker. I don't disagree. I mean, I think the only thing that could potentially be a part of that is Jaquan did miss some time with that injury, but at the end of the day, Jaquan clears. So there's a couple guys that I think did get snubbed, but you can't take it too personally because obviously those are the guys we love to see every single day. Angelo, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for tuning in. If you guys are new here, make sure you hit that follow button. But yeah, man, it's really fun. Goat says, I'm hearing Fields to the Steelers for draft picks. Yeah, man, who knows at this point? And that's really what the conversation is going to be for the next several months. We're going to try to see what's happening, what's going on with the number one overall pick. Just like last year, we had no idea. And just like this year, we have no idea. At the end of the day, that's what it's going to be. And that's that. I don't see that changing anytime soon. The only thing I can say is this. I feel like this season, Justin Fields actually won over the fans. You know what I mean? Like Justin Fields actually went out there and balled out. Last year in the second half, obviously he rushes over 1,000 yards in total, breaks Michael Vick's single game record and stuff like that. But he didn't truly win over the city of Chicago. This year, we saw it. The We Want Fields chance, how much we missed him when Tyson Bagent came in. Obviously, there was a small time where we didn't miss him, but, obviously we realized very quickly how valuable Justin Fields is long term. So, it really was important to see that occur. And, to really break that down further, we can definitely talk about that as the week goes on and as the season continues, without the Chicago Bears, because this is our final week against Green Bay. We are going to play spoilers, and it is going to be a phenomenal week. But let's get into the rest of the Pro Bowl really quick. I want to name the starters as of right now. The starting quarterbacks for the NFC, Brock Purdy will be starting at quarterback. Dak Prescott will be QB2, and Matthew Stafford of the Rams is QB3. Running backs is Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, Kyron Williams. Fullback, we got Kyle from San Fran. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans. Puka Nacua makes a Pro Bowl in his rookie year, which is pretty cool. Tight ends, you have George Kittle and Sam Laporta. I think, there is a conversation. Let's say the Lions or the 49ers make it. You could say that Cole Kmet deserves to be there. Tackles, you have Trent Williams, Lane Johnson, Penei Sewell. You have guards, Zach Martin, Chris Lindstorm, Landon Dickerson. Centers, Jason Kelce. Shout out Jason Kelce. And Frank Ragnow. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we have the defense as well. Nick Bosa, Montez Sweat, and Aiden Hutchinson are your defensive ends. Interior linemen, you have Aaron Donald, Dexter Lawrence, and Javon Hargrave. Outside linebackers, Micah Parsons, Danielle Hunter, a future Chicago Bear, and Hassan Reddick. Inside middle linebackers, you have Fred Warner and Bobby Wagner. Shout out Bobby Wagner for finding his way back into the Pro Bowl. Corners, Deron Bland, Charvarius Ward, Jaylon Johnson, and Devon Witherspoon. I believe that's a rookie season for Devon Witherspoon. Free safety is Jesse Bates. Shout out Jesse Bates. Buda Baker and Julian Love. Special teams, no one cares. Let's be real. For the AFC, let's get into it. Let me read it quickly. I got to scroll all the way up. Representing the AFC, QB1, Tua Tagovailoa. QB2, Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes, not Patrick Williams. Patrick Mahomes is also on that list. Raheem Mostert for running back 1. James Cook and Derrick Henry are the running backs. Alec Ingold for the Miami Dolphins as well, one of the best fullbacks in the game. Wide receivers, first and foremost, I want to say my thoughts and prayers are out with Tyreek Hill because I saw his, the house fire earlier today. But he is representing the Pro Bowl for the AFC with Tyreek Hill being wide receiver 1. Amari Cooper is wide receiver 2. Shout out Amari Cooper, rejuvenated his career. Keenan Allen, wide receiver 3. And Jamar Chase, which is kind of crazy to me, at wide receiver 4. I don't know. Jamar had a hell of a year, but I also don't think it was the greatest of years compared to others. For tight ends, you have Travis Kelce and David Njoku. Tackles, Larry Tunsil, Deion Dawkins, Teron Armstead. We got some guards in here. Quentin Nelson makes an appearance again. Joe Tunley, Joe Bitonio. And centers, Creed Humphrey, Tyler Lindenbaum. So that's what we got for the offense. For defense, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, a future Chicago Bear, and Trey Hendrickson. Interior lineman, you have Chris Jones, Quentin Williams, and Justin Maudbrook. Outside linebackers, TJ Watt, Khalil Mack makes it back to the Pro Bowl. Shout out Khalil Mack and Josh Allen. Inside middle linebackers, we have another Chicago Bear, a former Chicago Bear, and Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. Corners are Patrick Surtain II, Sauce Gardner, Jalen Ramsey, and Denzel Ward. Free safeties is Justin Simmons and Minka Fitzpatrick. And then I believe Kyle Hamilton. But that's all we got right now for starters. Obviously, special teams is a whole different thing as well, but no one's going to want to get into that. But yeah, man, I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on. Shout out JoJo. Appreciate you for being here, brother. But yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun. It's been interesting. I'm sorry if that was really long-winded and you guys didn't want to hear who the whole Pro Bowl starters were, but I felt like it was important. I think it's fun. I think the game itself is horrible. It's basically just flag football at this point. No disrespect to flag football. I play flag football myself, but I don't want to see some of the greatest athletes in the world playing two-hand tag, when I'm used to watching them destroy each other. It's also completely understandable, though, because you have that other side of the coin to where it's like you don't want to see these guys get injured literally right before the Super Bowl. You tear your ACL, it's a whole different kind of offseason. We keep in Fields 100%, baby. We are. We have to have that conversation. But we're going to remain live on TikTok without a doubt. Don't get it twisted. Make sure you guys stay here. Make sure you hit that follow button if you haven't already. We are going to get off the live on Facebook and YouTube right now. If you haven't already hit that follow button, you guys can check me out at MikeHughes at the shy.kid on Instagram and TikTok. Until then, I'll check you guys out later. Peace.
I love you.